Hi everyone, it's me Darlene. I thought I would record this for my Growing Up Crazy channel. I am going to give you my take on how I spent Christmas Eve with my mother, my son, and my granddaughter. You'll have to go watch Derek's video. He did a video with his take, and it's very interesting to me to watch what he says and to see how the family dynamics affected him. And in some ways it's very much the same, but in other ways it's very much different because he grew up in the same household I did, but he was able to escape from that for the most part. When he moved 16 years ago, he hasn't been around my mother except for visits here and there, and except for the 1 month that we spent with him when we moved here. And I can promise you he was way more stressed out during that than he will ever let me believe. I know this now. While he was growing up, I, for the most part, was out drinking. So I don't really know, like, a lot of the stuff that happened to him. And it isn't until I realized not long ago that my mother is narcissistic personality disorder. That's when I realized it wasn't me. So all my life I thought it was me. I never would have imagined that she would destroy anyone else. I thought I was the only one that could be destroyed because I was worthy of being destroyed, because I was a bad child, a bad grown-up. I made horrible decisions, which I did, which were partially encouraged. My mother kind of liked it when I was a train wreck because that made her feel better. That gave her her narcissistic supply that she needed. So I don't really know, and I'm going to ask Derek and talk to him about this. I know he saw the arguments between me and my mother, between my mother and father, and I know that that made him very nervous as a child. And I remember him having like some anxiety attacks, but you know, I was too busy going out getting drunk. It's an awful story, but that's the honest truth. And those of you who have problems with alcohol, you know what I'm talking about. It's like we do what we do because that's what we want to do at the time. And I'm not saying that was ever okay. It wasn't. I am saying that I did not know how to get out of that. I didn't even know I needed to get out of that when I was young. As I got older, I knew this isn't right. I should not be doing this. I wish I could quit. But it took 10 years of wanting to quit before I actually quit. So the alcoholism and, you know, the way I was brought up, it all plays a part in this. So let's get to the Christmas ride that we took. Derek, please go watch his video first, and you'll see that he was stressed about things. My stress mostly was I didn't want him to be stressed. Now, one thing, it started out better than I think he thought. He was, I'm sure, and he didn't say I don't think, he was probably stressed about just getting her in the car. He is the one who transported my mother from wheelchair to car to airplane seat on our trip here. She had just spent 5 days in respite where she was never out of bed. So when she does that, she gets back to me very weak and cannot use her legs. And we picked her up from respite, and it was just a 15-minute ride to the airport. So she didn't have any legs, let's just put it that way. So he thought that's the way it always is. But when I have her, I do get her up a little bit. I get her to the point where she can take her walker that has 4 wheels. That's the best for her. I'm always there. I don't let her like just roll away because she can make her little turns. She doesn't have to like pick up the walker. The other walkers are more dangerous for her because she can take a step, but the walker doesn't go forward, so she can actually fall over. He was like, how are we getting her, into the wheelchair? And I said, she's in her lift chair. I lift the chair, she has the walker. Here's how I put her in a wheelchair. I came up with this myself. We used to like take the wheelchair and roll it to wherever she was, and then she would have to turn to sit. And just like when we get to the car, we would get to the car with the wheelchair, and she would have to like get up out of that wheelchair and start to turn herself, hanging onto the door, hanging onto the wheelchair. No, this is what I do now. Lift chair goes up. She has her walker. She takes 3 or 4 steps, or enough steps so we can just roll the wheelchair behind her, and then she can sit. So that was cool. He's like, she's going to be able to walk those steps? I'm like, yes, because he hadn't seen that. Then she's in a wheelchair. He wheels her to the car. I have him stop, maybe 3 or 4 feet from the car door, put the walker in front of her. She can get up for the most part with some help out of the wheelchair. I also put a pillow to make it higher, easier for her to get out. So then she has her walker. She can go to the car door, and now she can turn and be safer holding the walker. When she's got her butt to the door, I hold the walker really tight against the car, and then she can use that walker and she can get her butt on the seat, and then I can turn her and put her in. And we just do the same, in the opposite direction. When she gets out of the car, she gets out and uses her walker to take a few steps, and then we put the wheelchair behind her. So it's a really cool way of doing it, and when she has at least the amount of strength that she has right now, it's doable. And we discovered that Derek's car is much easier to get her in, especially since his seats are not fabric and mine are. So it was way easier to turn her once I get her legs up and in. I hope we can go for another ride. I'm sure he's not really excited about doing that, but it wouldn't have to be 2 hours. Okay, so then we start riding. Now, at this point, this is relaxing for me. I'm in the back seat with Skylar. I'm already laughing. We're having fun. And I know that my mother is not going to go into a narcissistic rage, most likely, with the 4 of us in the car, with Derek and Skylar there. She's going to have a different kind of mood. She's going to say different kinds of things. So we go on our merry way, and we wanted to show her the Mississippi River. And she was quite chatty, and I liked that because, again, I know she's in her element. She's talking about herself, things that she did. She likes to talk about herself. She doesn't ask people other questions. And if she does, it would be something like, oh, Skylar, do you like to color? Well, yes. Well, I always love to color. It's always a way to start a conversation where she can talk about herself. And I'm good with that. As long as she's being nice, I don't care what she talks about. And one thing I noticed about the conversation, see, Derek is busy showing my mother things, and I'm busy just listening to things because I'm always trying to, figure things out. And then I get validated by saying, oh yeah, see, I'm right. She trashed this area when she was in a car alone with me, but with my son and granddaughter there, she raves about how awesome this place is. Because I did take her for a ride once, just the 2 of us, and showed her, not the river, but I showed her Hernando, and Derek also showed her Hernando. And with me, it was all like, I can't believe we're living here. I would never pick a place like this to live, the traffic and this and that. There was nothing good, nothing. And I would tell her, well, at least be glad that you're living in an apartment. You're not having to deal with all of this. But she just didn't want to hear anything. So it was a very stressful ride for me because all she did was complain, and that worries me because I'm afraid that's going to continue when we get home, and that she's just going to, make life miserable. She goes through stages like that. I call it her cycling. But it can be any time, and I never know, which is what makes me always on edge. But, I'm like, oh, I made a mistake taking her out because now she's stressed and she's going to want to destroy my day, my week, whatever. With Derek and Skylar, she just loved everything. She loved everything. Now, here's how a narcissist is thinking when they do that. She knows I'm in the car. She knows that they probably will be happy to hear how beautiful the place is. And she knows I will be thinking, how come she hated it so much when she was with me? That's what she wants. She wants me to hear her say awesome things about the same places I showed her, some of the places that I showed her. She wants me to hear her say awesome things to other people that were said to me in a very negative way, almost as in a way to make it like her ride with me was unenjoyable. She didn't like those things because it was a moment shared with me. Like, I'm the problem in this scenario. I know you think I'm overthinking this, but I'm not. I have done all the overthinking. This is how a narcissist works. It is very calculated, and she's always got a mission, no matter what she says. So I noticed that part. The other thing is she's in a good mood, and I can't remember exactly what she was talking about at the moment, but then she suddenly announced that she was dying tomorrow, meaning Christmas Day. She was dying. Now, I have been hearing my mother die my entire life, since I can remember. She would tell me when she was going to die, or she would tell me that she's going to die right now unless I am a very good girl, things like that. So I hear it all the time. And in Sanford, in Maine, when she had some aides, she was doing that to one of the aides, and the aide was like me. She finally realized this is comical, and she would tell me, your mother said she's dying this month. She says she didn't narrow it down to a day this time. It was just this month. We just laughed about that. So my mother announces, I can feel, or she said something like that. She goes, I'm going to die tomorrow. And I said, shit, I just bought a bunch of groceries. Now, see, we joke like that because, I joke like that because I'm so tired of hearing it, and it's got to be funny. But even when I was a kid, the family would joke about that, specifically my father. I really wasn't with my siblings because they were all older than me and out of the house. But my father would talk like that to my mother because he knew too. I didn't know then, and he never discussed my mother's mental state with me, but I know he knew, and he just blew it off too. And then a little later in the ride, she announces that she's going to live like past 100, and I was like, oh, please, Ma, don't. And it sounds probably mean, but I have to laugh about it because it's just so often that I hear these things. So, to me it was fun. Now, maybe that was stressing Derek out. Maybe he thought that was going to make her upset. That doesn't really. She doesn't care if I, laugh about the fact that she's going to die one day. My mother actually asked the doctor once, there's nothing really wrong with me. How am I ever going to die? And he says, well, you will one day. She's like, when? And I'm like, 3 to 5 years. And he just burst out laughing. So it's good to have a sense of humor. You have to. You have to if you want to survive a relationship with a narcissist. We actually had my mother in the car for a little over 2 hours, which is a long ride for her. And when we got back, she was able to get out with her walker, a little bit of help from me. I like it if I can do it alone because I don't always have Derek. So I do want to try to get her out more often, but I will absolutely ask Derek to take us out sometimes because then it's more relaxing for me. And, he'll know that it's not going to be a stressful situation. I don't know. It can always be. The other thing, though, is Derek doesn't like loud, and I have to speak really loud to my mother. And I know it stresses him because, I'm sitting behind her. She has to have the front seat because that's the best for her to get in and out of. And so I have to yell. And one time I, leaned forward and held onto her seat, and I touched her shoulder, and she screamed. See, I thought that was funny. She probably thought it was a spider or something, but I'm sure that startled Derek. And he probably didn't like being startled because I don't like being startled, but that cracked me up. Yeah, and when Derek would talk, she doesn't understand, so then I repeat what he just said in a really loud voice, so that can be stressful. I could tell him that we can just go for a ride and nobody has to talk, But I know he will do it again because it really was good for me. I needed to be out and just be looking at something other than where I live, and it was good. I was very happy. And then we got home, we ate, they ate, I fed them. I had just bought a rotisserie chicken, so I had mashed potatoes and corn. I just gave, my mother wanted spaghetti, so she had spaghetti. I always have some cooked and frozen for her, so that's very easy. we exchanged a few gifts. I had some stockings for Derek, Skylar, and my mother, and filled with all kinds of goodies. And then I got some yarn from Skylar and crochet hooks, and then my mother got her candy from them and markers. And so it was nice. And then they left, and my mother was in a decent mood. She called my sister and talked to her and told her a little bit about the outing. Very exaggerated, and that's another thing that she will do. She will embellish, she will outright lie, she will get a lot of information wrong, and I've decided that when she says something wrong, I don't correct it anymore. And I told my sister, I'm no longer going to come to the phone and correct things. Just always assume that what you're hearing from her can be wrong, because it's a lot of work. I'll be in here and she'll be telling my sister, yeah, Darlene said it's 40 degrees, and I might have said it's 60 degrees, and that might be just a mistake. And I would get up and say, no, Ma, 60, not 40. Done. I'm done doing that, because I can be correcting every other word she says. The next day was Christmas, and 3 of her grandsons called, my sister's 3 sons. And again, very embellished stories. And the thing is she can play it up like it was the best thing she ever saw, and then later she can tell the same person how much she hates it. And if they say, oh, but I thought you liked it, she'll say, I only told you that so you wouldn't worry about me. Like things are so bad that she can't tell the truth about how bad, because she doesn't want them to worry, so she had to lie. You know, it's just that kind of stuff. So anyway, for the most part, I enjoyed it. I know my mother enjoyed it somewhat, because it certainly took her mind off things. She got a lot of time to talk about herself. All kinds of things, random things. She'd even break into song and start singing, and she yodeled. She yodeled for us. She was talking about it, and Derek's like, can you still yodel? And she said, yeah. He goes, go ahead. We're like, go ahead, Ma, start yodeling. And she did. So, you know, I think those things are funny. So I had, you know, a lot of laughs during that ride. And one time, I was trying to fix my seatbelt, and I had to lean to grab it, and as I'm leaning over, Derek takes a corner. I just went down on Skylar. You had to be there. And the road was like such a curve, and I could not get up. I felt like I was pinned down, like in the Tilt-A-Whirl at Orchard Beach, one of my favorite rides. I couldn't get up. And I was crying, laughing, and Skylar was laughing so hard too. Anyway, so, you know, it's things like that. It doesn't take much to, you know, make me happy. Falling over in a car, that's the highlight of my day. So I just thought I would share all of this. It was a good Christmas. I was worried about it. I know Derek was worried about it, because suddenly we had other people in our lives for Christmas, and, you know, we just both worried about, do we have to perform? Do we have to feel like we have to be forced to do things? Does it have to be happy? You know, is anyone gonna fight? Is anyone gonna cry? So we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. At least I did, and I did try to say, no pressure, don't worry, it's going to be fine. And it was, so we survived that. And I don't know, will she be around for the next one? Who knows? I think anything's possible. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back with more soon. Bye.